Brunswick-Glynn County Joint Water Sewer Commission meeting for Thursday, August 17, 2017 will come to order. I'll give the invocation and I'll lead us in the pledge, and we'll go to the public comment period. Dear Lord, we're meeting today to conduct matters of Brunswick-Glynn County Joint Water Sewer System. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that we may successfully guide the Joint Water Sewer Commission in accomplishing its mission of providing quality water and sewer service to all citizens of Glynn County in accordance with federal, state, and local laws and regulations. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Did we have any public comment? Okay, could I have a motion to go into, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go into executive session because some people have to leave.
I make a motion we move executive session up out of the agenda until now.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, we will go into executive session. It'll probably last about 20 minutes, and then we'll come back in and we'll start the meeting with committee updates. Thanks to all for being here.
What's the executive session for?
Litigation. Talk about it, deal.
Can I have a motion for out of executive session?
Second. Make a motion to come out of executive session. Second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your right hand. We'll start with committee reports. That's the minutes. Oh, yeah. Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Mr. Browning is excused. Okay. So we'll start with compliance and legislative. Mr. Browning is that. So I think anything that we have that we discussed is going to be
Facilities we discussed.
okay. There were some legislative things in the process. Are we gonna submit that to the commission to look at, full commission?
Today?
Yeah.
No, sir. I was planning on getting with the county attorney and the city attorney first, and then bringing what they have back to the commission.
Then,
Since there's no action required by the judge,
okay.
that's it.
We have some proposed compliance and legislative changes that we're going to forward to the city and the county. And heard Mr. Garmy say he wants to talk with them before the full commission looks at it. So it's fully coordinated action. Okay. Facilities?
Facilities do meet, and we have, well, what we did meet on the board about the surplus property and stuff.
And finance did meet, and the issues that we covered in finance will be covered by Mr. Donahue in discussion item 4. Okay. Human resources did not meet. Public information and customer relations.
Public Information and Customer Relations Committee did meet. We convened yesterday, Wednesday, August the 16th at 10 a.m. We initially talked about the customer service portal on our website, and in that discussion it was realized that the customer has a lot of different payment options for bill payment, and we decided that we'd want to clarify that So we determined that we need a work product to come out of that, which was a summary table of a customer's bill payment options, the associated costs, and to whom that fee is paid and by whom for all of those different options. Then we had a presentation on the results of the preliminary customer relations survey. There's a customer relations survey that was put out. It had about 37 questions on it, if all the questions were answered. It was initially introduced to a sample of roughly 300 customers using Facebook, the website, and lobby callouts. We had a total of 245 responses, which was a little surprising in itself. 245 people actually opened the survey. And then of those 245, we had 171 who actually completed the survey in its entirety. They went to the end. That's approximately 70% of the people. I think it's a little bit early to draw too many conclusions from the survey because it was such a small sample size. And it still needs some more work, and we've got to get it out to a lot more people. However, there were some interesting comments that came back, and there were some trends. And I guess one of the trends had to do with responsiveness of the front office to lack of responsiveness of the front office to customers. There was another interesting trend, and that was that most of the people that were surveyed in that sample seem to get their information about us from social media or from the news, and specifically Brunswick News. We thought that was an interesting observation. So then we discussed the Everbridge text notification program. We now have 360 subscribers in that system as of last week. During that discussion, we talked about boil water advisories, and the current boil water advisory program since it was implemented, we have had a total of 38 boil water advisories, and of these, 15 have been attributed to material defects, mostly recent installation type defects. And in addition to that, the other 23 were attributed to contractors and private homeowners. Next meeting scheduled, or it's not scheduled. We do have a holding spot for that meeting. This is an as-needed committee, so if we need to meet again, that could be as early as October the 3rd, Tuesday at 2 p.m. That's it.
Anyone have any questions? I had one comment to talk about on the failure of the material. It's a PVC pipe, and it appears that we're having some problems. And correct me if I don't get this exactly right there. That when people open to test the water pressure on fire hydrants, that if they close it too quickly, that it can cause a water hammer, which can fracture the line. We had some discussions earlier today in which there's some technology that we can insert in the lines such that it'll absorb the water hammer more effectively. And so we'll look at the cost of that technology and how we can get it inserted rapidly on our fire lines.
Could training also go work with the fire department so that they?
Well, I got the impression that the staff. Go ahead.
If I could inject, you know, in my previous experience, training helps, but you have to retrain because as you get new firemen on, they get sent out, and sometimes the carryover training and the follow-up to make sure the new guys get oriented to do that doesn't always occur. Over the years, I know in my previous position, at least once a month. It seems like we would go out and have an issue that was caused from, flow testing of a fire hydrant by the fire department. At times there were certain crews over there at the fire department that were very good about doing their thing, doing it the right way, knowing our problems and trying to work with us. And we shared a lot of time over it. But there's just always that exception because you got enough turnover, enough people trying to do that task. You get into this issue no matter what you do.
Okay, anything else under committee updates? If not, we'll move to the approval items. You have a copy of the minutes, and I have the executive minutes to continue to pass. We can finish reviewing if someone would make a...
I make a motion, we accept the minutes from the August 3rd meeting.
A second?
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, and the executive minutes?
Make a motion that we approve the executive minute meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay. Thank you. And to the Job Corps agreement.
Mr. Chairman, I've asked Ms. Crosby to speak to that issue today.
Good afternoon. If you guys will recall, several months back, Mr. Jonathan Watkins with Management and Training Corporation came and gave us a presentation on the Job Corps program. MTC is the firm who operates the local Brunswick Job Corps Center. And so what you have in your packets is the memorandum of understanding to just move forward with that program for the next year. And it basically just gives us a framework that outlines the way we'll do the supervision and mentoring of the students when they're here, the training that we'll provide them, also how we'll keep track of their time and any absences they may have. And then there's quite a bit of conversation in there about safety guidelines. And so Mr. Watkins is here if we have any questions about the program, but really today this is just the formal bringing the agreement before you one more time to take a look at as we move forward with this program. And I'll remind you, it's a program that we've done for several years with Job Corps, and it's really just a continuation of that. If you have any questions.
Well, first of all, are there any changes from what we've signed in the past?
No.
Okay. My next question is, how many departments use Job Corps personnel?
Previously, I think I can off the top of my head at least say 4, potentially 5. Because I know we've used them in my group, we've used them in finance, wastewater treatment, planning and construction, and I'm sure I'm missing someone, but I know those 4 for sure we've used them previously.
Mr. Chairman, I also like, this is a great program. It really gives those students an opportunity to actually do a real life work in the workforce. And really it's a game changer for a lot of them. And also the organization benefits as well. The city of Brunswick uses those students as well. They also have, every monthly, they have a monthly meeting to give people update as to who's placed and the status of things too as well. So I think it's a very good program.
I have another question. Do we have capacity to use more?
I think the way that Mr. Duncan, when he discussed with staff, he was going to leave that to individual supervisors to determine how they need this.
You know, of course, with the jobs, a lot of the folks will be plugging folks back into the situations they had before. So I don't right now see us doing more. It could be that if our project loads and those kind of things change, we could indeed gainfully employs more students in that capacity.
Okay, well,
But I don't directly see it right now.
okay. Given what Commissioner Harvey said, I just would, like to see us use it to, our advantage, true, but I mean, there's an advantage for us to do as much as we can.
We'll do our best.
So, is there a recommendation for a motion?
No, I actually have not had the opportunity to prepare that, but that is what we'd like is your approval. So if you'd like to make one, that would be wonderful.
I'll make a motion that we accept the contract with
I say.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please raise your right hand.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Surplus property.
So this is a piece of property, 101 Hampton River Club Marina Drive. This is a former fire well and pump station located in the Hampton Point subdivision on St. Simons, and that's on the northern end. It's in a developed residential area, and so what we'll have to do in order to make this property marketable, first of all, we're going to declare it surplus today, but we also have to abandon the well, which means basically they'll put grout in it, seal it off. We have to remove the structure from the property, and then we'll get a formal appraisal. There's also a little bit of work that Georgia Power has to do out there to, I believe, move a transformer back into the right of way or somewhere else. So I know those are 4 things that we'll need to do to the property, but what we're asking for today is just the formal approval to surplus the property to move forward with that. In your packets, I also included 2 quotes that we received for the actual abandonment of the well. And so there will be some expense to get the property, in condition to be appraised and ready to market. But we talked about this, I believe, in facilities meeting earlier, that whatever proceeds we make, these expenses will, come from there, and so it won't be anything out of our operating budgets. If you have any questions, there's also some pictures of the lot in there, the size and all those things. If you have any questions, if you haven't seen it in one of the other 2 committees already.
Got a question. You gave us some figures here from Woodrow Sapp. What?
So those 2 quotes are from Road Drilling and Woodrow Sapp, and those are the folks that would have to actually do the well abandonment for us. That's not something that we would do ourselves, because there's a permit process to abandon that. So we'll have to pay those expenses before we'll market the property, because we wouldn't want to leave that to, a property owner. That wouldn't be the way.
So are we going to actually set our bid, a minimum bid, since we have to pay these expenses?
Yeah, so I think the way we've handled the sealed bid process in the past is the appraisal amount.
Right.
That's sort of our minimum that we would accept.
Okay.
And then before we would accept any sealed bid offer, it'll come to you gentlemen and you'll review it, usually in executive session, and we could always pass the way our bid document if we don't get a price that we were happy with.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that the staff recommends that the commission approve this property as surplus so that the Brunswick-Glynn, Georgia Water and Sewer staff can begin the processes necessary to place the property up for sealed bid.
I'll second.
Okay. Further discussion, questions, comments? Okay, we'll call for it. All those in favor, please raise your right. Motion passes. This is the next is a pump repurchase.
Okay, so yeah, this is me, and hopefully for the final time. So
Should
this.
really get Todd to have to do some of this.
Well, they always back me up if there's questions, because I don't have usually the technical answers.
I would like you to feed the commissioners technical questions for us to ask, so that Todd has.
He has a delay and time to get a good response. You figured out our tactics. So if you'll recall, at our last commission meeting on the 3rd, I came before you and we approved approximately $268,000 worth of pump purchases. Those are the actual submersible pumps that will go in the stations. What we're talking about today are the electrical panels, the controls, and also the diesel pumps for these various stations. So we're going to be getting these through Xylem, and the grand total of today's approval will be $694,872.05. So when you add that back into our $268,599, that brings us in at $963,471.78. And if you'll recall, we had this discussion at the last meeting. We were projecting about $1.1 million for pumps. So we're coming in a little under, but there could be some ancillary stuff that pops up. But we're pretty much on track with what we thought. If you have any questions, the quotes are attached, and I'll do my best.
I have a question. If we already approved this, why are we?
If you'll recall, we only approved the 268 last time because we didn't have this quote information. If you'll notice, some of these are dated just 2 days ago. So with this being a design build project and us trying to stay on track, we didn't have all of the pump specifications approved and the submittals worked out, and these are the final pieces for the pump components today. So these are different pumps in addition to the ones that we approved on the third meeting.
Now, are there any more pumps that we need?
Not that I'm aware of at this time. But I'd like to keep my options open.
We're going to have a presentation here on the phase 1 of the project, 30% design, which is what these pumps go into. Would the commissioners like to go ahead and listen to that before they approve this?
Okay.
Is that okay? Mr. Kine?
All right. Call them shoes. My name is Jim Kaiser. First, let me say thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to come before you today. What we'd like to talk about is the 30% design for the Progressive Design Build Services 2016 Splash North New England Sewer Improvements Project Phase 1. This is the project to upgrade the 6 wastewater lift stations in this North Mainland sewer system. So today what I'd like to do is to talk about the background of the project, present to you the existing system as it's currently designed and situated, talk about the future conveyance system improvements very briefly, and then to talk to you about what we've come up with our conceptual plan for this project and go into some details about each one of the 6 lift stations. Then we'll talk about the overall schedule for the project as well as the project costs. Presently, I'm borrowing Todd's pointer here. So presently, the 6 pump stations are basically in series, and as you see on this map here, you've got pump station 4110, which pumps to pump station 4039, pump station 4039 pumps to pump station 4028. Presently, pump station 4028 and pump station 4048, pump station 4028, and pump station 4006 pump into a common 16-inch, which turns into an 18-inch force main. And then all of this flow is conveyed into pump station 4005. There are 2 significant bottlenecks. The first being in the 8-inch section of the force main between pump station 4110 and pump station 4039, as well as the capacity within this force main here, which affects the capacity in these pump stations. As you can see, we've got a design flow of 2,031 gallons per minute for 4110. The pumps are only rated at 1950. We've got a capacity of 2336 going to 4039. Again, we only have 1950 in capacity. And then pump station 4048 sees approximately 4,000 gallons per minute. This is the design flows. And it's only got a capacity of 1,950 gallons per minute. It's got 2 pumps to pump that, so it's 3,800 gallons per minute. Still, when you look at the head losses as it goes to this, it's insufficient. And the same thing occurs with pump station 4028 and then 4006. So essentially, several of these lift stations will need to be upgraded to be able to handle the future flows as defined by your staff. You have a plan. You have a plan that is designed to be able to convey a lot of these flows and to adjust this. Your implementation plan, however, is going to take somewhere between 18 and 24 months to implement. And as you know, there is the potential that some of this development may occur before those force mains are completed. And so you need a plan to be able to handle those additional flows earlier than 24 months. Your plan is to build two 20-inch force mains that will come together to redirect the flow from pump station 4110 and pump station 4039 away from pump station 4048. It will redirect that flow closer to the 36-inch line that feeds the Academy Creek wastewater treatment plant. That will relieve this pump station from having to pump all of this flow, and will back it down to a 1,589 gallon per minute flow, and through the 16-inch force main. Presently, there's piping such that 4048 could pump into 4028, or it could bypass it and go around it. And so what we're looking at is to be able to handle all the flow from these three pump stations into the new 24-inch force main, which I believe you call the 4048 force main project, which is designed to bypass pump station 4005, such that in the future, 4005 will only see a flow of 405 gallons per minute. It's got pumps that are rated at 4,226 gallons per minute. Whereas pump station 4006 has three pumps rated at 2,100 gallons per minute, but it's going to see about 3,437 gallons per minute at an increased head loss that goes down here. So our plan was to utilize and maximize the use of your existing assets, pumps, pump stations, and force mains to minimize how much equipment you've got to be able to purchase to upgrade these 6 large lift stations. And keeping in mind that in the future, we don't want to put new infrastructure in there that's only going to be abandoned or is going to be way oversized once the 2 major force main projects, the 20 and the 24-inch projects, are completed. So with that in mind, we've developed a plan to upgrade these lift stations. Our plan is to install piping and controls such that we can eliminate the bottleneck between pump station 4110 and 4039 by renting or purchasing diesel pumps that can be installed temporarily for the 18 to 24 months it takes to finish the 2 20-inch force mains to redirect this flow around here. This will allow 4110 the capacity to convey its flow, the higher flows, to pump station 4039. Pump station 4039 will have the capacity to be able to convey that flow to pump station 4048. If we eliminate the common force main and just pump 4048 to 4028, 4048 has sufficient capacity. You don't need to buy new pumps here. You don't need to build anything. It's already there. We're just going to open and close valves that are already there to let it come to 4028. 4028 needed to be upgraded anyway, so we'll put larger capacity pumps here. They're sized to handle the flows once the 2 20-inch force mains have been taken away. But temporarily, they'll need capacity to handle all the flow from 4110 and 4039. So again, we're going to put some temporary piping and some diesel pumps that can be used to take the discharge from this pump station when the flows are high, boost that pressure, and convey it down the pipeline to your gravity system. Once the 2 20-inch mains are completed and this flow has been decreased, one of these pumps can be relocated, used elsewhere. The other one will operate as the emergency backup pump. So you've not wasted any investment in assets. This is simply a check valve that will be installed in the pipeline inside the plant site. Now, 40006, we said, didn't really have the capacity to handle its increased flows, but once the 24-inch line is installed, the pumps at 40005 are way oversized. So we're proposing to take the pumps from 40005, do some slight modifications to them and convert them from dry pit submersible pumps to wet bit submersible pumps and reinstall them at pump station 4006. Likewise, when we remove the pumps from here, from 4028, and install the larger pumps, we're going to take those, send them back to flight, have them check them out, do any repairs that might need to be made, and install them back here at 4005. So we're reusing the existing assets that you already have. The only new equipment we'll be putting in these 4 pump stations is any new electrical equipment for the larger pumps, and we're replacing 4 pump panels because panels at those pump stations are very corroded and very deteriorated and need to be replaced. And that's what was presented to you today, was some of the costs for replacing those panels. So, when this is finished, again, once this is finished and this flow is taken offline, this pump station and this pump station will have the capacity to convey its design flow through the new 20-inch line to the 36-inch. This will be taken away. The pumps are rented or they're purchased and they can be reallocated and reused within your system as emergency bypass pumps. These pumps the same. One of these pumps will be reallocated as emergency bypass pump and the piping simply used for that emergency condition. And you'll have pumps that are sized for the design based upon the projected future flows. It maximizes the existing capacity within your system and the uses of the existing assets as best deployed. This slide simply shows you pretty much what this shows. The location of pump stations 4110, 4039, again the 8 and 12-inch force main. The 12-inch force main that pumps into a 27-inch gravity line. The 27-inch gravity line flows to pump station 48, and then 48 flows. If you have any questions, I can certainly do that. Most of it's going to be piping and some electrical SCADA modifications. The jockey pump, as we call it, the temporary pumps for 4110 will be located off of Jetport Road, somewhere in this area right in here, off from the easement. And we propose to install the new jockey pumps, and there'll be 2, there'll be diesel pumps, put some piping valves there, some concrete pads for the pumps. We'll have to install some telemetry such that it communicates back to pump station 4110. When the flow into 4110 gets too high and the wet level begins to rise, it'll trip some floats. The floats will signal the pumps at the jockey pump station to kick on. They'll boost the flow and pump down to pump station 4039. We propose to start this work around September 22nd as well, and it'll take a couple months for us to be able to finish that installation. We have a projected date of November 16. And the cost for that work is $124,272. Again, we propose to build the pump pads, the piping. We're going to tie into the existing 8-inch force main, install a check valve, some isolation valves, such that the flow would be, the flow from 4110 would come here. When required, one of these pumps would turn on, it would suck the flow, and then discharge it downstream. That would close this check valve, and it would boost the pressure. We're going to put some Jersey barriers here, because it's along the side of the road, so that no one will come by and hit the pumps. This is in a ditch line here. We propose to extend the ditch line down and put some additional elliptical pipe and fill that area so we can pour the pump pads. This again is temporary. Once the 20-inch mains are completed, this can all be removed, the pumps redeployed elsewhere. Pump station 4039, again we're going to install some bypass pump piping and valves, do some SCADA system improvements. There's an old diesel generator there that we're going to remove because you'll have emergency bypass piping that you can just take a diesel pump and locate it there if you have a problem on site. We propose to start this at the end of September and complete it within a couple weeks by mid-October. And the price on this was $111,416. And this pump station is located off of Indigo Drive behind America's Second Harvest, coastal Georgia. This area back here. And again, mostly installing some piping and to the diesel generator and tapping back into some existing lines and then doing some SCADA system improvements. Pump station 4048, There's a lot of corrosion that's occurred at this lift station due to hydrogen sulfide in the system. The wet well is concrete wet well and is severely deteriorated. So we're going to do some rehabilitation of the wet well, we'll bypass the pump station. We're going to install the new electrical pump and control panels, install some new bypass pump piping and valves, do some SCADA system improvements, remove the old diesel generator, and there's an underground storage tank that needs to be removed. The diesel generators, the storage tanks that were removed, they'll be salvaged if there's any value or any, if they still operate, if they can be rehabilitated. If you'd like to use them elsewhere, there's always that potential. We'll be turning them over to you. It may be that if they're scrapped, then you can scrap them or sell them for scrap. But they'll be turned over to you. We propose to begin this work in October, the beginning of October, and should finish it by the end of October. And the price on this was $338,477. A lot of that is associated with the new electrical pump control panels and the rehabilitation of the wet well, as well as removal of the diesel generated underground storage tank. That'll all require permits, and we have a subcontractor that will do the permitting for the underground storage tank removal. Again, a lot of the work will be within the existing property, and you're purchasing some new property on the outside, which will all be, so we'll be expanding into this area right here. So new piping, the underground storage tank demolition, and the valves, and new flow meters and SCADA work. Okay. I'm sure I said where that pump station is. That pump station is located right off of the Irian Highway. Pump station 4028 is the one that we're going to be doing the most extensive improvements and modifications to. It will have a much larger pumps installed. There'll be a new electrical service run out there to that pump station. Again, we're going to install 3 new 185 horsepower pumps. Again, the wet well is in similar condition as 4048. We'll rehabilitate that wet well. Install new electrical pump and control panels, new bypass pump piping and valves, do some SCADA improvements. It also has a diesel generator and an underground storage tank. This pump station is located off of Oscar Lane, and we propose to begin this work in October, the beginning of October, and it won't be finished until the end of, till the middle of January. That schedule is based on 2 critical path items. One, the delivery of the new pumps, and which are in the packet today that Pam was discussing, and 2, the completion of the 24-inch line you call the 4048, lift station 4048 force main. This pump station receives a low flow presently, and so once we take it offline, we'll take the pumps, send them off to be rebuilt. But we really can't take the pumps from 40006 out until after the 24 inches is completed. So there's some critical path items that are outside of our control, but we're using our schedule based upon what the 4048 force main contractor has identified. Again, we begin that in October. We should complete it in early January, middle of January, and the price on that is $607,673. We're going to do some demolition at the existing plant site with some existing piping, and then ultimately, until the force main projects are completed, we'll have the 2 booster pumps located on a new pad here with some existing piping, or some new piping rather, tying to the force main. Once the force main projects, the 20 and 24 force main projects are completed, we'll simply keep the pad there, remove some of the above ground piping, put some caps there, and utilize one of those pumps as an emergency bypass pump. So we're reusing the piping that we installed as part of this project, so there's not a waste again of assets. There was an overriding requirement from your staff to us, was to maximize the efficiency of using the existing equipment and then not wasting materials once for this project that would no longer have a value after the force mains were completed. So we've done that and maximizing that. Pump station 40006, which is located off of Altima Avenue. Excuse me, a bit tongue-tied up here now. As I said earlier, we're going to take the pumps from pump station 4005, 2 of those pumps, have them converted from dry pit submersible service to wet pit submersible service. And we've got quotes in there, and that's part of your quote package for today. And then reinstall those there. We're going to rehabilitate the wet well at pump station 4006 because it has some corrosion issues. We'll install new electrical and pump control panels. It will have a new larger service because these are larger horsepower pumps than the existing pumps that are at 4006. We'll install some bypass pump piping and valves, skate improvements. It also has a generator and an underground storage tank which will need to be removed. We propose to begin this project in the middle of September, and then it will be completed in November, the end of November. And the price on this is $474,634. Again, some of the piping that will be taken care of, the pump pads, the valves, the very piping, the tie-ins, modifications of the existing force main to be able to install the new skate improvements, the flow meter and such. This is the existing control building. We're going to go into the existing electrical building and do some modifications within the building to remove some walls, remove all the electrical panels, run the new electrical service in there. They will have all new electrical controls, MCCs, and new pump panels. And then the last pump station, which I'm sure you're going to hear, is pump 005, 4005. And at this pump station, we're going to take the 3 pumps that we removed from pump station 4028, have those inspected, and any repairs that might need to be made to those performed, and then we'll install those inside of the wet well at 4005. It presently uses dry pit pumps, but there's a wet well, and I'll show you in a moment. An existing wet well that we're going to rehabilitate and install these as submersible pumps. We'll also have new electrical and pump control panels there. We don't have to provide a new service because the existing service is large enough to accommodate these smaller pumps, but we do need new control panels. Install some new bypass pump piping and valves, do some SCADA system improvements, and then it has an old diesel generator as well that we'll remove and salvage. We propose to begin this the middle of September, and it should be completed again early January, and this is based upon having the pumps from 4028 available, and it's dependent heavily upon that new 24-inch force main, the 4048 force main project being completed so we can take this offline. And the price on this is $321,000, $488. Again, this pump station's located off of 5th Street and Stonewall Street. This is the existing wet well dry pit pump station. This is an existing wet well that was located here. We're going to install the new submersible pumps here, extend the force main with the new flow meter and SCADA equipment, tie into the existing force main, locate the new diesel, new concrete pad for emergency bypass pump located here. So our overall project schedule for the improvements is to begin next week and then have everything completed by the second week of January. You can see that there are several milestones. One of the critical path items is that the force main 4048, the 24-inch force main, be completed, and right now the projected date is November 2nd. If that is completed earlier, some of these tasks might shift backwards, provided the pumps arrive from flight. If it's delayed, then it could delay the completion of a couple of these lift stations.
Where does the critical path run through that schedule?
To be able to have it so you can actually see, because it's actually 3 pages long, I just compressed all the activities. If you like, we can send you our critical path schedule in detail, and we're more than happy to do so. But it basically runs through the delivery of the pumps for 4028 and the completion of the 24-inch force main, the 4048 force main.
So that's leading to my question. I was curious what items on that path do you not have control of?
Delivery of the pumps and completion of the 24-inch force main. Outside of that, we're in control of everything else.
And the delivery of the pumps is, the critical path is November the 2nd?
The pumps, the delivery of the pumps for 4028 will affect the completion of 4028. And 4028 That's what's pushing this out a little bit here. We can take 4028 offline because the flows to 4028 are low, so we can bypass that for an extended period of time. We can do all the rehab and we can get all the materials and whatnot installed, but until the pumps arrive, we can't put the pumps in, install them, start them up, check them out, and then do the diversion for 4048 to go into that lift station.
Part of the issue and reason why we need to approve the pumps today is that the vendor is, kind of doesn't really know where we fit in the queue at this point, and they're unwilling to make a commitment until they have an order. Once we place the order, we'll know where we are in the queue, and then we'll know exactly how it's going to fit for this.
If we were to get the pumps for 4028 2 weeks earlier, 4028 would move ahead 2 more weeks. Because really it's almost floating out there independent of the other pump stations because we can, the flow to that pump station presently is so low. It runs about an hour a day. And so we can afford to bypass that pump station. We can't divert flow from 4048 into 4028 until after we get the new larger pumps, however. So it kind of backs up that. And then to be able to take 40006 offline, we really want to have the 24-inch line out of service because once we take the 40006 pumps offline, then we can send them back to the flight manufacturer. He's going to convert them from dry pit submersibles to wet pit submersibles, which is included in that quote today. And then we can install those into 40006. So you can see that it's like building a house of cards. If everything doesn't fit right, then you can get some delays. But if everything fits right or something comes early, why we can push things ahead a little bit. So our schedule is based upon worst case conditions. And there's not a lot of float other than these 2 critical path islands. The rest of the materials are readily available. We're going to begin work with multiple crews out here doing what we can at these lift stations that we can take offline and bypass. And then work as diligently as possible. Our subs are lined up. So our electrical's lined up. We're ready to begin work next week.
And then with the worst case scenario, your critical path right now, this schedule is based on your worst case scenario. How much float is in that? In worst case?
Not much at all.
Not much at all.
Because we gave you
How
this
much
tightest
is not
schedule.
much?
Maybe a few weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks maybe.
14 days?
Maybe.
That's it.
14 days in worst case scenario, you still have 14 days of float.
That's right. And we have, I think, a 104-day total schedule on this to upgrade 6 lift stations.
So we're thinking if we can hit a best case scenario and get the pumps
We have a
2
best
weeks
case
early,
scenario.
then you have 28 days of float?
Possibly.
And those, so since we're based on worst case scenario, those 14 days of float that are due to our pump delivery, we own that float.
Well, the project owns the float because if it rains, the project is the float. If the pumps come in early, obviously, then we can get the project work done as quickly and get that done earlier. So we understand the value of completing this project early, and we've developed an extremely aggressive schedule to be able to do that. 104 days is what, 3.5 months to be able to do this much work at 6 different sites, 7 different sites. So it's an aggressive schedule. We're spending 2-3 weeks sometimes at these pump stations, getting in, lining up subs, getting it done, the electrical done, and coordinated. So there's a massive amount of coordination to be done on these project sites. You're going to have multiple people working on a site at a time. And that's right. And we've got, actually we've got Thanksgiving and we've got Christmas and really New Year's during that period of time too. So,
Are we buying the diesel pumps or are we renting? We're buying.
That's the approval item today, diesel pumps and the control panels to support all the work.
Why, do we have to buy them? Was there a specific reason?
I think because we're gonna use them as backup for any other thing that goes down, we're gonna use those pumps. I think
you can reuse these pumps. Once this project is finished, there'll be pumps that will be available for use at other locations.
One of the other considerations was the fact that we're talking about 18 to 24 months of rental on these to get us from here to the point where the big project goes in. So when you start renting these things for a long period of time like that, you're not that far from purchase. And at the point where, as Mayor was indicating, you have an extra tool for backup in the case of an emergency. This is a good resource. You might as well invest it, own it, and be able to utilize it. Not only in this case, everybody remembers back to the situation we had the storm a few months ago, having backup options to run our system, there was more options is better.
The number I heard was that the break point between buying and renting was about 13 months. So if we rented these if we said we're going to delay the rental and we only need to rent them for, let's say, 6 months, then if you buy the pumps, you're basically buying them at 50% discount anyway.
So it's even better than
So if you, 6 months, who knows the amount of time you would have to rent these. You may have to rent them for 12 months, in which case you broke even on your purchase price anyway.
So do we have backup pumps now? I mean, do we have, what's our inventory of backup pumps?
Not on every station. We've got backup power, we've got backup pumps on the most critical of our stations. But you know, those things are changing and in flux, and you know, the demand was for having backup power, backup pumps on all 160 or 157 stations.
I understand. But the diesel lift, the temporary, we can move them to where we need to move them. That's skid level.
They're skid mounted, we can move them to another location.
You can lift them and put them on a low boy and truck them to whichever station you want and take them off and set them on another tank.
And these diesels have day tanks?
They're built in, they're integral to the pump, to the diesel
And
pumps.
what sort of capacity,
They
how
can
much
run-
in operating time?
They can run 24 hours.
24 hours.
At full speed.
Full speed, they'll run 24 hours.
So if we have a hurricane scenario and
If the hurricane came through, we had an extended loss of power out in the community again, it would mean that we would have to go around with the fuel trucks and keep them fueled up during the period that we keep them online.
Which you have a contract with the vendor to do that.
But these don't, we don't provide, what, is it 4?
Mm-hmm.
Without, so.
At 4028, there's a potential, I mean, it's up to you, obviously, if one of these is set up to stay at 4028, and you could relocate the other 3 at any other lift station that you wanted to.
Additional questions?
And then we give you a breakdown of the project cost between
electrical equipment that we'll be incorporating outside of the equipment you're purchasing, major subs, which include wet well rehab, for the piping we're installing, high-density polyethylene piping at all these stations, and so that's a sub to do that. Our cost and then service during construction. So.
4006, that lift pump sits in front of the college? Sit in front of the college?
I don't remember. Todd, that is the
Yes,
one
it
that's
is.
out in front of the college?
That's the one we was trying to, we have a lot of smell sometimes too as well.
I'm not aware of complaints about smells there. The ones I'm more familiar with are the other ones. 4110 sometimes has pretty severe odors. 4005 has other issues. 4048, 4028, and of course the Academy Creek plant.
Yeah, 4006, I think we try to hide that from Town Avenue with the bushes or whatever. landscape stuff.
Fencing, pretty decorative
Yeah.
fencing.
During the staff review this morning, we asked them to look at options for odor control earlier in the system,
Okay.
such that we can ensure we can clean up that odor problem.
We're trying to bypass that, a lot of stuff going through that anyhow. That's the main crust of what we're doing too as well.
Yeah.
So it flow to 4005 a lot more instead of 4006, basically. So not that much flow going to 4006. Right? Am I right or not?
You're bypassing 4005, you're taking the flows from 4028, 4048, 4006, and instead of running them all through 4005 as we do now, we'll bypass, go around it, and reduce the demand on from 5,000 or 6,000 gallons a minute to 400 gallons a minute. I think to the chairman's point too, one of the things that we've been talking about is the fact that if we're going in and rehabbing and upgrading these stations, it's not just the fact that it doesn't smell good. There is a corrosion and a maintenance issue associated with the odor or the gases that are released. So we're talking about what are the things we need to do to make sure that these new investments don't suddenly get, corroded and corrupted by the gases that are being released. These are bigger stations, so they have a lot more gas issues. And so we're looking at, well, we've asked them to look at what we can do to mitigate that at the point we get them online with the new stuff.
Sure, I'm sure that also our periodic maintenance should take care of some of that too as well. Once we get, I mean, you gotta have.
What I was getting at is, if you stop the gases from eating up your components,
right,
you don't have to do the kind of maintenance, the reactive maintenance to take care of things. If you get more reliability, a longer life out of the assets, lower cost to operate, it's all a good deal if we can eliminate the H2S gases that are being released at the station.
Right. Also, I think we have had our studies to say that these pumps are going to last a certain number of years, and the system, the way we have it flow, this is our vision for the future for so many years until we build another treatment plant that will do something else different. So right now, this is what we are forecast to do with our vision, with growth and so forth in our community. So I like that plan. It's great. Comment.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Cosby. I'd like to move to the suggested motion. Do I have anybody that care to make a motion? On the pumps.
Okay, I make a motion that move that we approve granted to pre-purchase control panels and pumps to be installed at pump station 4005, 4006, 4028 as part of Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water Sewer Supply North Mainland Sewer Improvement Phase 1 project number 702 in the amount of $694,372.05.
Have a second? Okay. Discussion?
872.
Say what, sir?
872, yeah.
872.
Oh, project number 87?
No.
You said 372.
I'm sorry. 872.
So do we have a feeling from the pump manufacturer, if we pre-purchase these pumps, when we will be in the queue?
So with your blessing today, I will go hit the button in the system and the POs will go to them, and it'll be about 2 to 3 weeks. But really, until you get into that final month of the delivery, they're not going to give you a firm date. The way it'll happen is they'll call us 2 weeks before they're ready and say they're going to be ready in 2 weeks. They're not going to commit to an exact delivery date. They didn't on the other ones that we did.
Do we have a commitment from the contractor that if we do this and we get the pumps here earlier than that 2 weeks, that their end date will then move back?
Yes.
I
Proportionately?
believe we do, and there's financial incentive in the contract that we finish the project early.
We're working with your staff, and we want to complete this as quickly as possible because it makes us all look good, and so we commit to you that if we get the pumps earlier, we will be working diligently to complete that project as quickly as possible.
We hope to have everything just sitting there waiting on them.
Right. So that's why on 4028, we started it so early so that we can get in there, do the wet work we have, do all of the work that we have, so that we're waiting for the panels to come in. We got the electrical contractor coming in early. He's going to have his equipment finished. We're just going to be waiting for those pumps to come by so that when it's ready to go, it's install the pumps, hang the panels, do the terminations, and we're ready to keep the pump station on. The work we have to do will be done very quickly, so it'll just be waiting on them again. And the only other critical path item is the 48 24-inch force main, which allows us to take pump station 4005 offline, because right now all the flow goes through that. Once we bypass that, we can take that pump station offline, take those pumps, send them off to get modified. We can then install them in pump station 4006. We'll have pump station 4006 as much as we possibly can ready to go. And that we designed the site layout such that the work, so the 40006 can continue to operate, and while we do the modifications to set up for the modifications to it, they'll be in a separate area. So we're working over here. The rest of the pump station is operating as normal. Once we get the pumps back, we can drop the pump station, get the wet well in there, and within a couple weeks, we're out of there and ready to go. So.
Now, on 4048, and that portion of it, that is a contract of TB Landmark, and they're the ones that did 2030, 2030, yeah, 2030, and then 2032, and you know how well they did on 2032. So we have experience with them, they have experience with us. I'm pretty confident that they can get their work done in accordance with the contract.
A question for our finance. Do we have SPLOST funds available for completion of the project?
Yes, sir.
We have a line of credit, I'll mention this as well, a line of credit on the front end to help us bridge the gap between when all the SPLOST money gets here for these early tasks to get them knocked out.
We currently have about $1.1 million of SPLOST funds that we've received to date, and we have a $5 billion line of credit to bridge the gap between those receipts of those funds.
So what you saw today in Constantine's number is about $2 million, and in Kosh you've got 962, so basically you've got $3 million in project cost at this point.
Okay. Do we have SPLOST funds that are ready, or we just have doing a line of credit?
It's a combination of both. We've received close to $400,000 a month in SPLOST monies, so by the time these pumps are delivered, we should have close to the amount of money needed to pay.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, gentlemen? I'll call the question. All those in favor of supporting the motion, please raise your right hand. 6-0, unanimous, thank you. Okay. All right, we're going to talk about the grand jury process. Mr. Grand Jury.
Good afternoon. It's that time of year again. The JWSC will need to fill 2 commissioner positions by grand jury appointment later this year. Those 2 positions are Citizen Commissioner number 1, which is Commissioner Bowen's seat. That seat shall be appointed for a 4-year term, and Commissioner number 3, which is Commissioner Ford's seat, which will be appointed for a 2-year term. The dates are as follows. The current date of selection will be made November 29th. The ads for seeking applications will run on October 3rd and October 10th. The final day for applications to be submitted will be 3 days after that last ad, which will be October 13th. Interviews will be conducted on November 1st. The agenda for the public hearing now will be placed November 8th. The hearing will be on November 15th. Then it's been available on November 17th. The hearing will coincide with the grand jury tentatively scheduled meeting dates of November 15th and November 29th. And this schedule, although we believe these dates are good, we've been working with Mark Spalding in the DA's office to come up with these dates. These dates still have to be approved by the district attorney. Just for everyone's information, as I mentioned, one of the seats will be a 4-year term. That's Commissioner Bowen's seat. One of the seats will be for a 2-year term. Again, that's Commissioner 3 to Commissioner Ford's seat. Commissioner 2, which is Chairman Elliott, is currently serving a 4-year term, which expires December of 2020. Citizen number 4, Commissioner Adams, is serving a 2-year term ending December 18th. Thereafter, that will be turning to a 4-year term. And Commissioner Citizen number 5, Commissioner Copeland, is currently serving a 4-year term ending December 2020. Any questions?
Questions? Thank you very much. Mr. Johnson, customer service?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to react. Commissioner Ford had asked us to talk about recent issues with customer service. And over the last 2 to 3 weeks, I think everybody up here has gotten contacts and pressure from our citizens who utilize joint water and sewer for their water and sewer services. A little background real quickly. This was an unexpected surge in demand for customer service needs. Primarily, it drives back to an issue. We brought a new billing software online real time July 1, beginning of the fiscal year. In addition, we had the change of our billing company. We went from Pinnacle to BB&T, correct? That's the company.
We still have Pinnacle printing bills.
Printing bills.
The lockbox is going from a company called Click to BB&T.
And that's the creation of the problem with the bills?
No, sir.
That's the portal.
No, the problem with bills was that data was put into fields in the data conversion.
Well, I see.
Data transfer into
Just the
fields.
lockbox wasn't part of that. But it was the new software that created the problem of giving information. We found that we had an issue with the way that the new software was printing data to the bills. In essence, we stopped the issuance of the bills to correct the problem. We wanted to find out what was going on, make sure it didn't, continue. So we held the bills and did a screening of everything that went out, and that took extra time. The extra time caused delays, which by the time the bills hit the customer's hands, it appeared to them as though they were already late or nearly late to get their bills paid. Great concern by many of our customers. As a result, they're all calling to find out if they're, going to get cut off or penalized for late payment of their bill. I got to say, my fault, because I didn't foresee that we were going to have an issue with like this, and I didn't. When we slowed down on getting the bills out, I didn't get everybody to issue the notice right then and there that we weren't going to be penalizing people. But in the meantime, we had lots and lots of calls, way beyond the capacities of our staff. That's not to say that we didn't have some room for improvement, and what we've done is in response to the concerns that we had. We've added we've made a little change in management to focus in on that customer service issue. And we've got a series of things that we're doing right now. The first thing we did was we've set up new schedules for all of our staff. We've created greater expectations for what we're going to do to make sure we reach out to everybody that is calling, even if it is more than we can handle during the normal daily hours. We're going to be here until whatever it takes on a given day, respond to every customer, make sure they get their answers and they get their calls returned. We've got folks staged, and now the customer service folks and the supporting staff around them are keeping an eye out, so when the surges come during the day, everybody is a customer service rep when it's needed in that area. So people are going to be reacting to what they see in the lines out there, but they're also going to be reacting to the phones, and we're getting more help. We've moved more help into that area to make additional resources available for that need. So between the scheduling, adding resources, focusing in on a lot of things, we've increased our expectations. We've also decided that as a long-term piece of this, we're creating surveys to follow up with our customers who walk in We want to know what they think about the service they got when they walk in to deal with us. We also are going to be doing follow-up surveys with our customers who call in. We want to know what they think as well. And we're going to get a good analysis. I mean, I know today what they're going to say, but we're going to continue to do this on an ongoing basis to get a feel for where we stand, and if the things we're doing to change and improve how we work are providing them what they want. If it's not, we're going to make additional changes. But we're following up on that. One of the things that's slowing us down on that particular issue is that as we started to make follow-up surveys, wanted to go in, we had a program in mind and planned out for how we were going to get representative sampling of all these customers. We found that our database and our billing software has aged. A lot of folks don't have current phone numbers, they don't have email addresses, we don't have that kind of thing. So one of the chores we've got to do in the midst of all this is continue to scrub that data and start to take the information from each of our customers as we deal with them personally and collect that data and make sure that the information on their account is updated and correct. Beyond the database cleanup, we're going to be, again, doing the follow-up surveys on an ongoing basis. One of the other things we talked about is, for some people, customer service is an innate part of their personality. They understand how to treat people because that's the way they want to be treated. And it seems to be a natural outflow of who they are as people. Not all of us are quite that gifted. And one of the things we want to do, we've been talking, Jay Sellers and I have been talking. Jay's found some great corporate models of customer service where they have formalized programs and training. Some of our neighbors right here in the community have demonstrated that. We're going to be looking at those models to get some formal training done with each and every one of our key customer service people. And we're probably going to be extending that all the way out into our field people to make sure that our folks that deal with the public out in the field, in operations, the supervisors, crew leaders, the managers, all get an opportunity to understand what it is to be a customer service person, because we are here to serve, and we're going to make sure that everybody gets the opportunity to be the best customer service representative of our utility that they can. I guess beyond that, that's where we're at. We're at a point, by the way, as far as holding up the bills, we're on the downside of getting that resolved and making sure that those issues don't recur. I think we're in the last week or two of having to scrub data, or rather review billing before it goes out to make sure that we don't have issues. And as such, I expect that normal customer service will be restored to a much higher level here in the next week or two. But I hope that our customers will forgive us for a lapse and a surge, one that we weren't really well prepared for, but I feel like on the good side, it sheds some light on some opportunities for us to get better in the long run, and it's been a good experience for us, even though it's been a terrible experience for our customers. And that's my summary of the situation on customer service.
From just anecdotal, I don't know what it is with the phone system or whatever. I called, I think 2 weeks ago, and I spent 30 minutes in the phone queue. I called, one time I spent 20 minutes on the phone queue, couldn't get anybody. Called back and hit every single option at least once, and was not able to get a single human. Finally, I got someone to answer on the far end. They did not know how to use the phone system, and in the attempts of trying to get somebody in this building, I was hung up on. So there's, to me, for this customer service training is fine. When I'm able to get a human being on the phone, everybody is customer service oriented. That's not the problem. To me, it seems like there's a phone issue where it's not rolling from line to line to line till a human being answers the phone. Because my question could have been answered by anybody in this building. And so that is my concern, is that the issue that has rolled in on the commissioners is if somebody has an oh crap moment and they're, you know, something broke, if they can't get a human being and they're doing, you know, me, I just had a simple question, but if they've got water hemorrhaging on the thing, there really needs to be a way for them to get through to a human being rather than to have to search out a commissioner's phone number and do it that way, because that, I mean, I was annoyed, but I was annoyed by
that. You remember?
It was the last commission meeting date. I was calling in to let folks know that I was in divorce stuff, so.
I understand. To that end, a lot of the changes we made really kicked in Monday of this week. So if it was just a case of, you know, we were getting 7,000 calls and you were stacked up with, you know, all the other calls, that could have been part of it. We'll check into the software. One of the other things we talked about, and indeed, is to look at our phone tree of messages, the phone options, to see if there's more ways we can, you know, get people quick answers that are as automated, they can go right to their information and not have to deal with it here in live body.
An emergency phone number would, I mean, an oh crap number really needs to be there. You know, literally and figuratively, because there could be really bad things going on. And if somebody's waiting 30 minutes, they got a sewer leak or a bad water leak, then there needs to be a quick response.
We'll look into that.
Well, you know, Mr. Chuck, it used to be that stats was provided to the commission years and years ago as to customer response time or customer service response time.
We still get that report. We can get that.
But the what's called commission don't get that. So,
yeah, would you all like to see that?
I would say, you know, maybe every once a month or every quarter to give us a stat as to your response time
sure.
when customers call in
that's
to
a
satisfy.
pretty good measure of what we're doing. I think that'd be an excellent idea.
Yeah, so at least we'll know that we are addressing the issue, and here are some of the stats that show that the issues are being addressed.
We'll do that, Mayor.
Okay. And even if you did something, I mean, I'd hate to, I don't know how you could coordinate that with 911, but if you could, if someone really has a bad issue, they call 911 and they have the direct cell line to, you know. Oh, all right. Well, if that's already in place, then that would be great. If just if we let folks, you know, you don't want to publicize it real widely, so people are calling about their water bill to an emergency number, but there really needs to be a way for.
Well, the first thing I think we need to do is make sure that the situation you dealt with a couple of weeks ago, make sure it's not a case of just totally flooded with calls. You know, when you get thousands of customers with the bogus issues that we're concerned, it could have been, that largely could be a reflection of that particular issue, because you're not the only one that's.
Well, it would be nice if that employee, I'm not going to tell them, knew how to use the phone to transfer as well.
Well, meter readers don't often get into the customer service rules, so I'll defend him a little bit. But we'll follow up on that. We're going to figure out what's going on with the system, and if we need be, we'll broadcast an emergency number that people can go to. Any other questions?
Now, any questions more on this, Dave?
No, we pretty much answered it. My only disappointment, and it's just a slight disappointment, that I've been hearing this for the past 3 weeks of meetings, and this is the first time we had to force the answers to come out.
We didn't make the changes till Monday, so a lot of the stuff that I'm reporting today is relatively new. We started the changes last week when we got a call during the committee meeting, and we followed up from there. Although I will say that the call you got was, yeah, not quite.
He called 3 times, but Mr. Bowman told me they were like 1 minute and 30 seconds. But he never talked to a human being, did he? He said he kept pushing buttons trying to get there, even though it turned out it wasn't a plumbing problem. But he still never talked about it. He didn't know that.
He didn't know that.
He didn't know. He wasn't there. his helper, but he never talked to a human being. I have the same problem. I mean, I've called him, and I've never talked to a human being.
Well, you know, and all this lines up with the fact that we did have those surges, so we expect.
Well, it may be something, if you got, maybe Jay can get out there, you know, but we need to let the people know that we're changing, we're doing this. I mean,
We are. In fact, I've asked Jay to get with our friends here at the table and make sure that what we're doing is getting put out there in a press release.
Use those assets right there, sitting behind there.
Anything else? Malcolm, did you need to leave? Okay. We have the finance.
Thanks, sir.
The financial statements for the month of July of 2017 are included in the package. And then, as usual, it consists of the balance sheet and the supplemental schedule of cash balances. Right now, with the June 30th, 2017 balance sheet and revenue expenses there, we're preparing for the auditors to come in to do that annual audit. There hasn't been any really substantial changes in that, other than we point out the receipt of the SPLOST monies. At the end of July, we had $339,000, almost $340,000. We've received another nearly $400,000 in August, so there's about $1.1 million in that reserve as we speak right now. The final page of this is the revenues and expenditures for the first month of the year. And we talked about this in the Finance Committee meeting last week. We restructured and condensed this to a great extent so you can see the bottom line results on one page. To date, our budgeted revenues today were just short of $2.6 million. We're at nearly $3.3 million for the year. As of the end of July, you will note that there is no income received yet for the plan review fees. We haven't, during the month of July, we were still handling customers that existed prior to July 1st. We haven't had any billable events. Under the expenses, we've broken those out by categories. You'll note that the bad debt expense year-to-date actual was $489,000. We had a long discussion yesterday in the Finance Committee about how that number is generated with the change in reserves. Basically, the bad debtors are reported, we use an allowance method for reporting a bad debt, and that's based on a formula of accounts receivable. So as accounts receivable rise due to increased rates in July, the reserve rises, which means that by definition the expense rises. As we go through and collect some of these older debts and the total amount of accounts receivable comes down, so comes down the reserve for allowance for bad debts, and so comes down the bad debts that are reported as expenditures. So this will hopefully work itself back down to a budgeted number as we continue with our collection efforts. Total expenditures for the year are budgeted at $2.266 million. We've actually had expenditures of $1.9 and have a total, including purchase orders outstanding, of $2.3 million. And then principal and interest and our net budget for the operating purposes for July was $292,900 of revenues over expenditures. And then there are the monies that we've received that are not included in the budget, which are the capital improvement fees and SPLOST revenues bringing our total revenues over expenditures to 1.86 million. 1.086.
Questions? Probably now then in September, you're going to have the open go. So that means that in the October time frame, we should have a whole lot of data that's going to be produced by a program and an organization called Open Government. And hopefully we're watching data.
So, the Open Government Chairman's talking about is it's an overlay access to pretty much all of our databases. We're starting with the financial and customer information systems first, so they can actually access our database information and present charts and graphs and of total budgets and other variables that we want to measure. One of the Commissioner Harding mentioned the telephone report. That's one that we hope to have generated through OpenGov. As long as that database is accessible to them to pull that information from, they can pull out the various statistics such as number of calls, average wait time, average length of conversation, and so on. And we presented some graphs that we intend to present or intend to generate to the Finance Committee yesterday, just as mock-ups of where we want to go with this program. We're also working on beginning the implementation of the capital project planning modules of enterprise to get a better handle on and be able to better track the projects that we have going. And by year end, late December, early January, the contract management pieces of those will be made public, and we'll be implementing those at that time. The Finance Committee also requested a report on overtime for the year. That's in your packages now. The top section of this breaks up the actual and budgeted overtime going back to 2012 by division.
Where's that?
It's due to the last page. And so far this year, we have our year-to-date budget this year is $52,600 for overtime. We're slightly above that, $56,500. That entire change is in my division, and that's largely due to the checking of the bills and the implementation of this new billing software. We've spent a great deal more time on it than we had budgeted for in this first month. And below that, just to give you what full information on personnel is the regular salaries and benefits by division, along with the total that we pay for either statutory or elected benefits to employees. This is actually the data that was in one of the charts that we talked to the Finance Committee about yesterday, introducing through OpenGov, where this is actually a stacked bar chart. It's much more visual and easier to make quick references to. Questions?
That's it. Any questions? Mr. Executive Director.
Yes, sir. I guess the two big things I'd like to talk about today is kind of a roll-up. We've heard the bigger issues on our customer service issues this week that we're doing. We've heard about the phase one improvements and how we're coming along with that. Certainly, I think we're making great progress there and should be making great progress on customer service. One of the other areas we've been talking about here recently is the aged accounts reports. And I know you guys remember that we just a few weeks ago updated the late payment policy and the delinquent policy, payment policy. To that end, we've addressed that we would, of the 4,500 accounts that were 60 days or older, and the $2 million that were outstanding at the time we started to initiate the program, we decided we would try to hit 100 accounts, starting with the largest dollar values and working our way down 100 accounts each week. Our first 100 accounts for failure to pay overdue bills going out total $568,330. They'll have 10 days. We've sent them out letters. They'll have 10 days to come in and either make payment arrangements or pay in whole, in total. As of this date, as of this discussion, we've collected over $250,000 of that $2 million. So we're making some serious progress. We think we've got a good system in line, and we've got it lined up to continue to make that progress. But again, like everything else, it does take time. When you've got a 4,500 account backlog, we can only do what's reasonable, and at this point we're going to address about 100 accounts a week. But we've got some big change about to come in, we hope, either in the form of full payment or at least in the form of getting payment arrangements made to start making monthly incremental payments. But so things are going well there, and I'm really pleased with the level of effort that our deputy director and our customer service folks are putting into tracking these issues down and getting with our customers and trying to get some of this resolved so we can get back on a pretty good stand as far as the aged account situation goes, and ultimately reduce our bad debt issues. One of the other things that's going on that kind of ties back to the thing that John was talking about, with the open gov reports that we're developing to look at financials and operating cost and that kind of thing. I've asked the staff this past week, I asked them to provide me with a minimum of 10 measurables by the end of the month that will look at what we're doing, what are the various measurables they see that we need to look at that measure cost to do what we do, quality of the things we do, quality of the product we produce, compliance, and the other thing is customer service. As the mayor was indicating, the report the call report that he mentioned, that's certainly going to be one of the tools that we can be able to pull out measurables for what we do in the business office. But this is our first step at looking at what we're doing and starting to analyze what are the things we can do that impact the cost and the quality of the work that we provide and the efficiency and productivity that we have in our organization. I guess it's the big step in working towards continuous improvement and using the data to kind of direct us. I know we've talked about that with asset management programs before, but this is taking the data, taking the reports, and I'm hoping that my staff is going to find the data that they want to track manually for now, and at least give us the starting points. And as John and his team get together with OpenGov and start to pull the various reports and numbers and generate those issues for our bigger picture management needs, I hope that we'll be helping the operations staff and our administrative staff to get some information built into these reports to help them gather the information quickly without being too manual and too tedious, so that they can do the job of figuring out ways to make changes that will improve those statistics. But we want to start tracking key measurables or as some of you from industry understand it, key performance indicators. The first step, I believe, is for us to identify those key performance indicators. And I've kind of, I think, taken the first step and asking staff to help me, and I'm going to help them if they have questions about it. But we're going to be moving in that direction. I think it's a big organizational effort that we need to pursue, and I think it's one that will pay great dividends down the road to us and to our customers. And that's my update for this meeting.
Any questions? No questions? I don't really have anything else to address today. Any of the commissioners have anything you'd like to address? Okay. Well, the meeting is adjourned.